Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to the east coast of Ireland for the latest edition of This Racing Life. Here's what's coming up on this week's show.
If I hadn't got Dundalk, I don't know whether I'd be in business today. It's kept me in business the last 9 or 10 years, and you know, we've 6 people employed here. You'd have 3 or 4 of them guys on the dole, or they'd be gone working somewhere else, because we would not be able to keep them going without racing.
I was 12 years old now when it got going. We went from, you know, working 8 months a year and having to go out foreign to having the option of staying in Ireland and riding through the winter. And very, very fair all-weather track. It's probably a fair and as good an all-weather track as you could ride anywhere in the world.
Dundalk is massive for what we do. Like we'd be shutting up shop for the winter, or you'd be keeping a handful in maybe to go for a raid to England or something. And without Dundalk, the flat game just shuts down completely for the winter.
Based at North County Dublin off the coast of the Irish Sea, the Ada McGuiness team has long been a respected source of winners, and since the beginning of the year, Ada has also been the joint leading trainer at Dundalk Stadium.
Dundalk's been very good to us. It's a great facility to have, you might as well say, in our back garden. It's an hour down the road for us down the motorway, and you know, it's a huge addition for us, and we've had a great year with it. We had a good year last year in it as well, but our horses are operating on it, and that's a huge factor for us, you know.
And I think it's very important to emphasise the importance of Dundalk for trainers, for staff, for jockeys, for everybody in the industry during the winter.
Well, look, if you have a business running today, how can you turn it off at the end of November or the end of October after the flat season on the grass starts, and then start it back up again in March? It's very, very hard for guys like us to do that. And if I hadn't got Dundalk, I don't know whether I'd be in business today. It's kept me in business the last 9 or 10 years. And you know, we've 6 people employed here. You'd have 3 or 4 of them guys on the dole, or they'd be gone working somewhere else, because we would not be able to keep them going without racing. And that's what Dundalk is doing to us. It's keeping us racing through the winter months. And unfortunately, we're not getting enough of it, but we need as much all-weather racing through the winter now to keep these guys in work and keep owners happy. And you know, that we need that.
And it's where the likes of yourself really pitched yourself to the wider public, because you were having winners there, and that's probably what helped bring in the Dooley brothers, Shamrock Thoroughbreds and Bart O'Sullivan into the yard with a higher class horse, because you were showing you could win races in Dundalk with lowly rated horses during the winter months. Yeah, and
it's a bit, as I said, it's good for and it's not just lowly rated horses. And Dundalk through the winter months, even you have a horse that wins a maiden there, it can be worth it. You know, there's a great market all across the world for them type of horses. America, we've sold a few horses to America after winning maidens in Dundalk through the winter, and you know, there's that market is there. We need it. It's great that the low grade horses, and we've had plenty of them up there, and they're probably the hardest horses to train in training compared to, like, you have a good horse, you can map out a race for him, you can say, right, we'll go there. You have a low grade horse in the ballad system in Dundalk, you could take 2 or 3 weeks to get that horse, so you could have him peaking next Friday and he doesn't get a run, so you might have to wait for 2 more Fridays before he gets a run. So these horses aren't easy trained, and then you have to let him down and bring him back up again to that peakness again. So these horses, in my opinion, they're harder to train than the real good horse.
As you say, you can't make a plan with them, can you?
No, you can't make a plan with them, and that's okay. I know some of them are a little bit roguish and that, but they are hard, and they're hard to make a plan with. Even through the summer, they're hard to make a plan with.
And the programme at Dundalk during the winter month is quite good now, isn't it? There's always got a valuable handicap every week there.
Yeah, there's a good 25 grand handicap there every Friday night as well, and I think there's a couple of Fridays there's 2 25 grand handicaps, and there's rated races in them as well, and there's a couple of maidens there as well, and like, they're all worth a few. You know, I think the cheapest race or the worst race in it is 10 grand, which is not a bad pot when you look at it going. I've often gone to Wolverhampton there and ran for 2.5 grand and 3 grand, so there's great prize money in it, and just long may it last.
And obviously to have it on your doorstep as well is an added bonus to you.
Yeah, it's a great bonus to us, and you know, I know real if gallops get too bad, we can always just throw a few horses in the lorry and skip down the road and walk horses there. And I remember there at the time of the snow and that, Dundalk are very helpful there. If you want to walk horses, they let you in, so it's a great asset and a great bonus for us.
A new addition to the yard is that love, a 2-year-old that came from Kevin Ryan's.
Yeah, we only bought him in the horse and training sale. He was a cheap horse. He wasn't expensive. We gave 11 grand for him. He was third first time out in the maiden around Wolverhampton. It's his only ever run, so we're going to try maiden up in Dundalk with him now in a few weeks' time. He's entered up this weekend, but don't know whether we'll run him, but we'll try in a few weeks' time and see what happens.
Okay. He'll be kept on the go for the winter?
Definitely.
Yeah. Bowerman, we spoke briefly about him. He's been gelded since we last saw him in action.
Yeah, gorgeous horse, smashing big horse. We love him. He's actually, just looking at him cantering on the gallops, he's moving very, very well since he was gelded. He's really enjoying life. He had a few weeks in the field after he was gelded now, and I'm really looking forward to getting this fella back on track. I think he'll be really competitive no matter what he does next year.
And it crowns him, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I was going to say it makes a man of them, but you know, these type of horses, when they're getting on a little bit, they start to think a little bit, don't they? If they're
Yeah,
left
he was
cold
quite
too long.
heavy. He was quite a big, heavy horse, and they were quite big, I can tell you that. And I don't know, but since they've come out of him, he's definitely moving better. He's enjoying life. You wouldn't even think he was a colt when he had them, but we just felt he needed them out, so that's why we took him out.
And what's to be the main aim for him next season, Bowerman?
Well, he goes, I think we'll run him on the first meeting in Dundalk in January. He runs, there's a rated race there he'll run in, and then we'll probably look at that big handicap. There's a 100 grand handicap in Newcastle. We might get a run in between. If there's another rated race in Dundalk, we'll run in between, and if not, we'll go to Newcastle on Good Friday.
Okay. And all stalls and stall. Was it one of your highlights of your career?
It had to be.
When you won the Colin Quinn?
Galway has always been a very lucky place for me, Kevin, and to win the Colin Quinn Mile, like, it's one of the main races of the whole week, and to win that, you know, to win one of them big races in Galway, it's a dream, and you know, we got it, and it was probably one of the best days ever.
Especially, as we spoke to you earlier on, after his troubles beforehand and all, it must give you and your team, Stephen, and all the team here great satisfaction. You correct those issues, you took a punt on him, and he's duly obliged.
Yeah, we took a punt on him, and you know, we probably wouldn't have had the money at that time to buy a horse like a quality like him. He was 104, 105 when we bought him. You know, they're quite expensive. He was a young horse, and they used to think a hell of a lot of him in Halfords, I know that, and it was great to be able to go and buy. Stephen sourced him, and it was great for him to be able to go and buy a horse like him, and to come out and first runner, we ran him in the English Lincoln, and he didn't run well, and we were sort of scratching our head. We had a couple of bad runs, and we were sort of saying, what are we going to do? But he started to really improve, and through the summer then, and we knew Derby weekend he was quite unlucky not to win that day, and we sort of said Galway, and people were saying he didn't handle Galway last year, but as I said, he definitely did this year, and he got a great ride from Colin Quinn that day. It was brilliant.
And Edo, Hayfield Stables, what's the ambition going forward? Is there expansion in the offing, or what would you like to see Hayfield Stables in 3 years' time, sir?
Look, we're going to build. We hope to build a new barn now in the spring once the weather comes. You know, once we get the weather back, we're going to build it up in the gallop where the gallops are, and you know, we have to try and improve more. We need more horses like this and better horses and younger. We've I think we've 9 or 10 yearlings to come in as well for next year, and we still need the handicappers there to keep your name in lights, but you know, we need black type horses, and that's our aim, is to try and get a better horse. And
with the new barn, what will that bring capacity to?
We will probably be able to take 60 horses then, you know, which will be plenty, and there's more staff. We're going to need more staff, there'll be more employment and everything, so we're looking forward to it.
And the background of this yard is quite unique, isn't it? It's originally a vegetable farm.
Yeah, my brother's still doing vegetables, as I said. We've strawberries here and that, and I'm son of a vegetable farmer, and I grew vegetables for most of my life until I went training, I had an equestrian centre, and then we went training horses, and I never worked anywhere else in my life. As I said, it was trial and error when I started, and I made plenty of mistakes as well. And you'll still make mistakes in this game. No matter how good you are at this, you'll make plenty of mistakes, and which is the beauty of it. And everybody, the best trainers in the world, make mistakes with horses, which that's a great. You know, there's nobody. I haven't met anybody in this game that knows everything about horses, and that's the beauty of it.
So basically, you're totally self-taught. You've never served your time anywhere or worked for another trainer?
Never worked anywhere in my life. I grew vegetables. Never ever. I just looked, and I done a lot of hunting and I done a lot of show jumping through my time, but I never ever. The only time I ever stamped a card was here. I paid. Never anywhere else. Which was, look at, I'm self-taught, and that's it. So it was great, and I would have watched and learned, and you made, as I said, you watch. I made plenty of mistakes with horses starting off, and you just learn from it, and that's the beauty of it.
Former jockey Fran enjoyed a fine record at Dundalk Stadium throughout his successful riding career, and he takes Kevin O'Ryan on an in-depth course walk of Ireland's only all-weather track.
Dundalk was a very lucky hunting ground for you when you were riding. You rode up well over 140 winners here in your career.
Yeah, Kevin, it was a big part of my career, I suppose. It's 12 years old now. When it got going, we went from working 8 months a year and having to go out foreign to having the option of staying in Ireland and riding through the winter. And it was a big bonus, but it gave me a big boost. I did a lot of luck up here, and because it was raced on a Friday night and a couple of, a bit of a novelty factor, a lot of luck, and I just found it a very good track to ride, and I had a lot of success here.
And how did you find it when you started riding on it first? I suppose a little bit trial and error, was it?
A bit of trial and error, but the biggest factor with Dundalk, I suppose, 6, 7, 8 years ago, there was a slip rail put into the home straight, which we'll see in a minute, and that made a huge difference to the style of race. And prior to that, it got quite congested, and there was a lot of tactics involved, and I used to find that come late and wide, it seemed to work very well and used that to good effect. But you had to adapt as time went on. The pace of the race has changed, riders adapted to it. It's like anything, I suppose, a new venue, new setup, people learn as they go. But a very, very fair all-weather track is probably a fair and as good an all-weather track as you could ride anywhere in the world.
Fran, we see we're just past the 7 furlong start now. You've got a lovely run down to the first bend. Draw, am I fair to say, standing here watching it, isn't, I know you don't want to be drawn out wide, but it's not as big a negative over 7 as it would be over a shorter distance here.
No, definitely not. I suppose it starts a mile. You can see the big long run from that chute. The 7 furlong start, you run down. The 6 furlong start, yes, it is an issue, definitely. But at a mile and at 7 furlongs, it is possible to overcome it. And with the style of racing now, I think if you go forward and go on and try and get in rather than take back, it seems to work quite well. Now, granted, we've got these marker poles here.
Just for lay people at home who know we all know what marker poles are. People have heard of marker poles, but there is people out there going, explain to us what marker poles mean.
Yeah, you can see, you start from the stalls. We have 14 bay stalls here, the maximum runners, which you get in most races at Dundalk, and they're almost a full width of the track. So for interference and to provide a cleaner race riding experience, I suppose, if you like, these yellow and black markers are here about 120 yards from the starting position of the stalls, and you're expected to keep straight for them, even if you break well and get a couple lengths on the field. If you don't run reasonably straight to them, you're going to be in before the stewards, and that creates it gives everyone a chance to get into their stride and then let the race settle in. But the key to it is you got to judge it when you're getting close to them, is when to move in. You got to play it between the rules, and you can, if you get 10 strides before the marker poles and you feel you're clear, you can edge across gradually and have a look. But that's the key point. With a wide draw, if you can get out quickly and get a couple lengths so that you're hitting them marker poles first, and be able to work your way in, hopefully before the rest of the field get up and keep you wide. You can see a lot of congestion in all-weather tracks, so that's the style of it. Pace in all-weather tracks doesn't ring true anymore. You can see it in England, you see it in Ireland. It's all about getting at the start. No matter what trip you ride to all-weather, it's about the start. The first 100 yards, you got to get away and get your position, because 9 times out of 10 they'll go quick for a furlong, maybe 2. Somebody gets to the front and they'll try and pull the pace up and steady it up. So if the marker poles aren't there, it's bad enough when it's steadied up and there's a bunch of runners, but after a furlong or 2 it's settled down. But if it happens in the first half of the race, there's a lot of problems, and I suppose that's a big factor.
Another question for people sitting at home, they're wondering, why is there only 14 runners?
Look, it's the tightest racing in the world, really, all-weather race, and even with a fine big track like Dundalk, you see the width of this, but because the surface is so good, it allows every horse a chance to travel and get involved in the race. So you see most races here, there might be 4-5 lengths maximum covering 14 runners, and when they turn in and they're all looking for a position, they'll actually get quite congested for that 100 yards into the straight off the slip rail, and then the slip rail allows it to fan out. But if you added 16-18 runners into it, it would create a lot more congestion, and you'd have a massive amount of runners in a tightly confined space, and it just wouldn't lend itself to clean, good racing, in my opinion. And you see Kempton 14 runners, Newcastle, with the exception of their Northumberland plate, there's 20 odd maybe that, but in general most all-weather tracks, the sweet spot's about 12 to 14 runners to give every horse somewhat of a fair chance, particularly with draws are a big factor no matter what track you get on the all-weather.
We've now come down to the 5 furlong start, Fran, and of course we start in a chute here over 5.
Yeah, that's right, Kevin. It's in the chute. You got a guts of a furlong till you meet the track proper, a little bit over a furlong. But this is all about pace and early speed. You need to make full use of your draw, particularly if you're drawing the inside. If you're drawing in a low number, because if you don't hit the gates for that low number, when you join the track proper, as you can see, this railing nearly comes out to meet you, if you like, and if you're not in front in a single figure draw, get into that rail, you're going to be chopped off by the horses. You know, the marker poles he spoke about have been and gone, and it's all about who can get up and get ahead of each other, because for me it's all about being very prominent over this trip. And if you can get to this rail and in front or in a prominent position without being too wide, it can make all the difference, particularly if you have been drawn low, because then you get a chance to give your horse a little sit, a little breather till you straighten up and go again. But if you've had a good draw and you don't hit the gates, you're crossed over very quickly by the rest of the field, and you can find yourself chopped back off and you're basically out of the race.
If you have a horse that's slow out of the gates, as you said, always a bit tardy away, your chance is gone.
Completely, and you'll see it here in 2-year-old maidens early in the season, or recently we've seen a very expensive 2-year-old trained by Joseph O'Brien and who completely missed the start, and then you know you're on the back foot straight away. You get 8 or 10 lengths off the rest of the field, the kickback's in your face and it's race over. And even in handicaps you can see it. If they miss a beat and get 4 or 5 lengths off the pace, you're gone, you know, because by the time you recover, get into your stride, the field has come together and you're 3 or 4 rows back, and then by the time you turn into the straight, they've kicked off the bend and they're gone.
And obviously an outside draw is a big negative, isn't it, over 5 furlongs here?
Big negative. As you see, we run into this bend and you can see it's a lovely sweeping bend, it rides well, but if you're more than 3 wide, if you're 3 or 4 horses wide, you're getting pushed further and further wide, you're having to work hard, your horse is getting on the wrong leg and he's not breathing properly or getting balanced, and the horse inside you're sitting and they're forcing a little bit wide, and you just don't get into any proper rhythm. You're using your horse, he hasn't found his stride, and you don't usually recover from that.
And obviously you're covering a lot more ground than the horse closer to the rail is.
A lot more ground, and you know they're saving ground, saving energy, and you're having to work around them, and you'll never get around them. You know, even if you do get ahead of them, they'll have the edge on you, and when it's straight up they'll be able to just flick out and go, and they've saved their energy, whereas you've expended all yours. So you know, with a wide draw, unless you can hit the gates very quickly, sometimes it's better just take your chance, cut across and hope that they go too fast. But 9 times out of 10 I think you just got to race forward as possible.
And Fran, when you look at the declarations the morning before, something you were fancying in a sprint 5 furlong race here, saw you were drawn out in stall 13 or 14. Is there anything what would be your plan going out in your head?
Kevin, you weigh up your opposition first of all. You know where the pace in the race is, but ideally for that draw, if my horse had a bit of gate speed, I'd take my chance. I'd jump and gun and go as hard as I can down to this chute and hope that maybe 1 or 2 from the inside draws have either gone on and spread the field out a little bit, that you can edge in and try and get in behind them, because I think if you jump to miss it and get back in behind, by the time you do that and secure a position in towards the rail, the race is over. They're gone
too far behind.
Too far behind, and they don't come back generally, you know, unless they've really gone a breakneck pace. Sometimes in the summer on the day meetings there's a totally different track. You know, in hot weather they can slow the poly track down, it can get a little bit slower, that things, you know, the pace doesn't hold up as well. But generally in the winter season, it's key to is getting forward, and you know, take your chance from the draw and go forward, I think is the key to it.
And when you were riding, different times of the year, would you ride the track differently, obviously?
Yeah, definitely. You know, they've the 12th of July meeting here. They have a couple of meetings in August, and you know, particularly in the early autumn season, you could generally sit off the pace a little bit more if it's mild, you know, daytime. But as the year gets on, maybe you're dealing with a different grade of horse into the winter time, lower grade of horses. But you know, the colder it gets, definitely the more prominent you want to get.
Fran, we're here at the bend turning into the straight here, and I think it's fair to say that since they put in this slip rail, it's changed the way racing is run here at Dundalk.
Completely, Kevin. You know, if it's only 10 metres of rail and 3 metres wide possibly, but it totally can change the complexion of races here. You know, prior to that there was a lot of interference, a lot of hard luck stories in racing, which you don't want. You know, there was a above average number of horses getting chopped off, congested. You know, it's such a good track, long sweeping bend, that it was encouraging horses and riders to keep as much tight as they could to the inside. Nobody wanted to be wide, so hence there was a lot of congestion and, you know, subsequent inquiries. And you know, clerk of the course Brendan Sheridan, and in consultation with jockeys at the time, came up with this idea, gave it a go one night, and it's been here ever since, probably 6-7 years ago now, maybe 8 years now. But it's just totally changed the complexion of it. You know, there's very few hard luck stories now. You know, when you're turning off this rail, you've got the long sweeping bend. everybody knows that if they're in a position that mightn't be ideal, there might be a place further back than what they want, but you know when you get here with 2.5 furlongs to run that you're going to get a run. You know, when this happens, it's going to fan out, whether leader directly, usually when you get to this point, the leader elects to go straight up the middle. It's nearly encouraging more to get your horse to change your legs and kick forward off the off leg, and then you can straighten them up and get them running on the near side leg. And you know, that, as a consequence, you've got 2 or 3 metres on the inside with room for horse to go, and equally the whole width of just fine wide straight to go, and it's really just giving every horse a fair chance. But it has lended itself, in my opinion, to horses that are on the front end of it. If you can get a sit for the last 100 yards into this slip rail and try and stack up the field somewhat, and you're sitting against your horse, but when you get to about here, go and try and get a couple of lengths, and hopefully your opposition are getting a little bit stopped in their run, and you've got away to some extent. Now you do have a quite long run in to go, but on polytrack, if you can get away and get a couple of easy lengths, it does make it very, very hard for your rivals to pick you up.
Especially when it's riding quicker.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And sometimes when you're dealing with some of the lower grade horses, you know, they turn in, and if they have a couple of lengths to make up on a horse, it doesn't really encourage you. You know, they like to do things easy, and if they've got to work hard to get there, it just tends to put them off somewhat.
It takes a bit of getting here, doesn't it, from the point to the bend up to the winning post?
It's a long straight and long open expanse. You can see it can be quite lonely, particularly in maidens. If you're riding a maiden, you take it up a long way out here. They got a lot going on. You know, you've got Damian's track inside, you've got trees, you got the lights, and then when you get down further into the last furlong, you got the lights of the dog track, and the horse gate is there inside the furlong pole. And you can often see, if viewers at home are looking at it, inside the final furlong, horse begin to tire and it might wander a little bit right inside the furlong pole. That's usually for the horse gate. It's there, they take it, it catches your eye, and it's all about keeping the momentum up at that point. But you can see the last 100 yards, horses that have kicked a long way from home are crying out for the line.
Did you always find down the inside here rode slower than, say, up the middle or to the outside?
I wouldn't say rode slower by any means, but I do think it's all about momentum. You know, if you're in behind 2 or 3 wide and you're waiting for the slip rail to go and cut in, by the time you go, slide in and get your horse going again, other horses have built up their momentum down the outside, and they're getting into full flow, whereas you've had to ask your horse to stop and get started again, and at that point they might get their momentum's up and they've got a length on you, and it can be just harder to get going and pick them up again. Everything we've spoken about, I suppose, is all down to the pace of the races, and you know, in general, most races, even the handicaps, tend to be run more sedately than, you know, on the faster side, if you like, and that's why it's key. This is a key point of the race where it can be won and lost.
And it's interesting you say as well about how daunting it is, and I think it's something that maybe the viewers at home don't really appreciate. You turn into the straight here in a 2-year-old. First time out, most of the horses have come up and had an experience under the lights, which is vitally important. It's a long way home for a 2-year-old, isn't it? First time out. Lights, action in the stands.
Long way home. I actually used to prefer riding an inexperienced horse under the lights than not. In the day meetings, as you can see, the lights just funnel it in. They can't see anything else but the track. You know, they've got the railings, they've got the light, and that's all they can see. Everything else is black. But in the daytime, they can see the ambulance track, they'll see cars, they'll see a starter's rostrum. There'll be something to catch your eye, but at night time under lights, just like a runway.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You learn something new every day.
That was a theory anyway.
That's why you get paid big bucks, isn't it?
Totally.
Damian English, another trainer based in North County Dublin, has done incredibly well with some of his string sourced at the Horses in Training sales, including the prolific 7-year-old Geological, who looks bound for the Maidan Carnival in Dubai following a winning spree at Dundalk this winter.
He's in great order. We had him down the beach this morning. You've seen how fresh and how well he is. He thrives on his work. He's rejuvenated this year. He's in the form of his life. Never expected him to be winning 3 in the bounce. Like, before his 100 start, he'd never won 2 in the bounce. So to go on now and win 3 in the bounce and possibly do four in a row and maybe head off to Dubai then for the winter, like,
That'll be nice, wouldn't it?
That'll be the ice on the cake.
And what is it? Why is he in such good form now, do you think?
Well, look, we mind him for every year now, and you come into a few little nicks along the way, and we've just ironed out all the kinks. And in his head, the horse is in a very good place. You know, he knows what he's getting from Monday to Friday. He loves routine, loves consistency, and he's just thriving. Like, we've got new special lights in the stable, and they've made a big difference. The coats all look a lot better, but other than that, we haven't changed anything. And he's just getting better and better with age.
Yeah, because it was what, 3 runs ago. It was the second time Vanessa May rode him, and he just got out in front like he seems to like to do, and just kept on going, didn't he?
Yeah, well that's it. Like he's so straightforward. And he's just so genuine. His appetite for the game is unreal. Like if the lorry leaves here on a Friday evening and he's not in it, you can hear the stable wall being kicked and thumped. You know, he loves to get on that lorry every time he goes out of the yard. So yeah, no, we won't change it, and maybe he'll get to divide this winter and we'll have a bit of fun over there with him.
Yeah, and like it's just such a sound horse, isn't it? Like you keep, you know, whatever you're doing with him here, he's just sound and well and happy and fresh and wants to keep on running.
Yeah, well that's the thing. We've been very lucky. Like we've had a couple of horses over the years, and they get little joints and get little niggly injuries. But he's kind of he's got away with most of them, and now touch wood. Now he's been very sound and healthy. So hopefully long may it last.
And 2 runs ago, he and Gordon Lord Byron, like he's run over 100 times, and Gordon Lord Byron's run over 100 times, and the two of them going to the line together.
I know, isn't it brilliant? Like, but to see old horse like that with still such a good appetite for the game, it's brilliant. And like it's like horses like him that get you up in the morning. So hopefully now we can keep him going. Like Gordon Lord Byron's what, 12, Gio's 7. Be nice to see him in that form now when he comes to that age as well.
God knows how many times he'll have run if he keeps on running with his 12. And then, but like his last run, he looked as good as ever. Like that was up there with the best of his life, wasn't it?
Definitely. Look, he was rated in 99 at his highest, but he was never in the form of a 99 horse. Now he's showing that sort of form. Vanessa gets a really good tune out of him. We've always said he goes well for the girls. Like Michelle Hamilton won on him, Anna O'Brien's won them, and now Vanessa 3 in a row. So look, he's just an absolute pleasure to be involved with.
Yeah, and she seemed to give him like all his last 3 runs. She did them 4 times now, I think. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right.
So but his last 3 runs, she just got him into his rhythm early on, and then she kept him balanced and kept him strong in the finish.
Yeah, like he's fairly straightforward, as you can see, and Vanessa's got very quiet hands. She keeps him balanced, and the horse just gallops for her. He really does. Like the first night now, she kicked hard and she made plenty of use of him, and then the next night with Gordon Lord Byron, she used her head and she sat a little bit and waited and kicked in. So look, she's very, very clever rider, and I think she's going to be a good £7 climber now over the winter.
Yeah, well, she's lost 3 over 10. Yeah,
that's what I mean. She's £7 now. So, but look, I think she's going to be good value for £7 over the winter.
Yeah. So he's now 96. Is that enough to get him into Dubai?
Yeah, he's been accepted to go over. Look, 96. He'd kind of maybe one of the first horses to be balloted out. So, ideal world, it'd be nice to win his next start in Dundalk before he goes over, just to be sure that we get in over there. But look, 96, he should at least get a couple of runs over there.
Yeah. And is that the plan, then one more run at Dundalk and then have a look at Dubai?
Yeah, definitely, yeah. We've been weighing up all the logistics and that the last couple of days and that, and everything's suggesting that we're going to be going, yeah.
And like going back to when you got him, I know it's a good few years ago now, but he wasn't an expensive horse.
No, 800 guineas minimum bid over in Newmarket. We went over with a £5 to buy him, and when the hammer dropped after one bid, we were running out going, geez, did we miss something? Has he got 4 legs, you know, is there something we didn't see? But got him home, and I think his first run for us, he ran a blinder, he was 3rd or 4th, you know, and a few little problems along the way, we ironed them out, but more like just developing and maturing. He was only a 3-year-old. Yeah. By the time he turned 5, he was just a real hardy sort of horse. He's a bit of a barrel, and he's tough and hardy, and he's just one of them diamonds in the rough kind of.
Yeah. Just on Dundalk for a second, like how important is Dundalk for your operation?
Dundalk is massive for what we do. Like we'd be shutting up shop for the winter, or you'd be keeping a handful in maybe to go for a raid to England or something. Without Dundalk, the flat game just shuts down completely for the winter.
Yeah.
And like even there, the start of this year, the surface wasn't riding its best, and we didn't run horses there from January to March. Like that affected my winners for the year big time. Like I had no winners from January to March this year, which isn't normal, you know. And as soon as we got the service right and we went back up there, we've had 3 or 4 winners since. So we'd be lost without that place.
And are you happy with the surface now as it is?
Couldn't be happier. Yeah. They've done wonders. We had a few little niggly injuries, and they were the same injuries coming back, and the vets were asking us what we changed, and we hadn't changed anything. So it turned out that it was the surface, and they've done wonders to get it back riding well. As you can see, my horse are running consistent, and now it's riding top notch.
You're not far from the beach, which we saw this morning that the horses, they seem to love it down there. Like is it a great facility to have just on your doorstep? Oh
look, it is, and like we were blessed to have the beach, because you can see here, like we have no facilities, we've no walkers, no sand arenas, no gallops. We just have the stables and a bit of land. So without being so close to the beach, we'd be lost. The horses love it. They don't associate it with going off to work or anything like that, because they're going off for a walk in the sea and the roll in the sand. It's a day out for them. Yeah. So then kind of the horses see the lorry coming, they're raring to get on it. So maybe that's what kind of makes them a bit more genuine, not when they get to the races, because they're always thinking they're going to wait for a trip to the beach or something.
And like, it's as much down to their mentality as it is down to their physicality, isn't it?
Yeah, look, you'll never make a horse do anything he doesn't want. That's one thing I've learned. Like, As a fella said to me, he said, just mind them all like group horses, and the group horse will never pass you, but there'll be a lot of nags along the way, and you can't make a bad horse good, but you can just mind good horses. And we've just got a system set up here where we try and take away as many risks as possible, keep the horses sound and healthy, and if they're good and they want it, they'll do it, you know.
So that's all we have time for in this week's show. Thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you all again soon.